Welcome to Partnerships for Profit, the podcast where we bring you inside the world of joint ventures, strategic partnerships, and powerful collaborations. Each episode, you'll dive into conversations with top entrepreneurs, visionaries, and business leaders, unlocking the secrets to building profitable relationships that drive growth and success. Whether you're looking to expand your network, find new referral partners, or scale your business, you're in the right place. Let's get started.
What most contractors don't realize is they don't even know what they're paying for. Today, we're going to try to fix that. Welcome back to Partnerships for Profit. My name is Dean West, and today we're joined by Alistair Dowds, managing partner of Valpo Agency. Why is my thing there? Oh, there it is. Alistair specializes in helping contractors stand out with results-first digital marketing. We'll unpack what contractors think they need versus what they actually need to scale for a business. Let's get into it. What is up, man?
Hey, how's it going?
Thanks
Thanks for the awesome intro.
Oh, well, thank you. I try to make it sound quality, until I flub a line here or there, but it happens.
Yeah, of course.
Take me back. Give me what brought you to marketing? Two, what dove you into marketing specifically for contractors?
Yeah, so about 10 years ago, I just kind of had a hobby of website design. I started a local company called Valpo Web Design at the time. Just focused on anybody local, whether it be restaurants, contractors, anybody at the time. Over the years, our team's grown and we rebranded to Valpo Agency, and we kind of became specialized in contractor marketing. So having done marketing for, all sorts of different industries, we really developed a specialty for marketing, for contractor marketing,
Yeah.
which is, it's a specific way to bring leads in of when people are actually searching for something, rather than, just like a restaurant or something where it's,
Right.
people aren't searching for that for their home, right?
What would you say over your development is one thing that has really shifted in the way you work now?
Yeah, so we're very focused on delivering information to a prospective client. So it does matter what you put on your website. It matters what you say in your marketing, because over the last couple years, even longer than that, the online landscape's got so much more competitive.
Yeah.
10 years ago, it was easier because people were still advertising in the yellow pages. Um, and now, in 2025, people realize that, hey, I have to have a website. I have to spend money on ads online to be competitive, and if you're not, you're just kind of getting left behind. So
Yeah.
that's definitely a big change in the landscape, is how many people are doing online marketing.
Yeah. What do you think is like probably kind of a common mistake that most contractors do when it comes to even trying to do marketing online?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of contractors, when they're getting started, they don't know where to go for proper marketing. So I see a lot of contractors spend money all over the place. They'll go online, they'll find an SEO company that just does SEO, and they'll use that company for a year or two and not really know what deliverable they're getting. I think when people come to us, when people come to Valpo Agency, we're usually a second or a third stop,
Mhm.
which that's good because they've already kind of experienced what common is. So when we give them a little bit better, more
Yeah.
higher than average product and team to work with, they're pretty excited by that. So
Where do you think they're usually like what's their expectation if they've visited the average marketing firm, or ran some ads?
yeah, I mean, I think the most common experience that unfortunately people have and contractors have is they'll spend $10,000 to $20,000 on Google ads,
Yeah.
and then they won't know, they'll get leads, but they won't know where they came from. It's very common to run Google ads and not have proper tracking set up. So,
Mm,
we have a lot of people we talk to, a lot of, business owners that say, "Oh yeah, well we spent $20,000 in the spring on, on Google ads." I say, "Okay, great. What was your cost per lead?" And unfortunately, most of the time there is no answer for what was your cost per lead because there's not
yeah.
proper tracking in place. But it's a necessary stage of growth. I think everybody starts there. You have to, and we position ourselves as kind of like a higher end product too. So we're not the cheapest by any means. We don't,
Sure.
generally we don't work with startup companies just because, for budget restrictions, and that's understandable. Um, So yeah, we really position ourselves as a higher product. So there's a lot of things that people come to us and they just didn't realize existed.
Yeah, and I would think, when you're starting on the marketing and especially for social and things like that, while there's going to be some immediate change, like the growth really happens over the next, like, 3 to 6 months, not necessarily that week.
Yeah, yeah, and then believe it or not, Google ads, Facebook ads, any of the online ad programs, you can set it up and do it yourself, and they actually promote doing it yourself. But believe it or not, when you run your ads yourself, you waste so much money. Most of the time, the ad companies don't care where you spend them. They just want you
No.
to spend money. They don't care necessarily. They say, obviously they want people to get leads, but like Google Ads is extremely notorious for this. They want you to open up your keywords and target anything and everything. And if you look at the analytics, it's like, okay, I'm advertising for tree services, but you know, people are clicking on my ad when they type in, where to buy flowers near me, and they're just
Right.
not. They're like outdoor related, but so far off. And Google
Very
makes
generic.
yeah, very generic. So, a lot of times we see people that have spent money in that regard, and we look and we audit their account for the past year, and it's like, hey, bad news, you spent thousands of dollars on something that didn't help you at all. But it's
Yeah.
common, and that's how it is.
I feel like that ends up being kind of a work in your favor because, it's like when you come to me and I show you a price, and you're like, "Oh, it's too much." Go do it yourself and then come back.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, we
You know?
almost we almost prefer that you've tried it yourself or you've been with
Yeah.
another company first, because then you know, then
You
you
have an
understand.
idea what goes into it.
Yeah, exactly. And we want our clients to be educated. We're very
Yeah.
transparent with, what we provide them. We prefer how the Google ad system works on a general level. That way you know where your money is going and kind of
Yeah.
what we're talking about.
If there was, like, one thing you'd recommend all contractors doing that would be an easy fix, not necessarily having to come to you guys just yet, but something that they could probably change on their end that would make a huge difference, what would it be?
Yeah, especially, for contractors. We work with a lot of remodeling companies, tree services, roofing companies. So, home service companies are our specialty in the
Yeah.
contractor realm. The best thing you can do is get Google reviews. So, make sure you have a Google business profile, make sure it's
Yeah.
verified. Sometimes getting your Google business profile verified can be a struggle, but it's worth the struggle. We see many companies where they've got a couple reviews on Google, maybe they've got 10 to 20, and they're doing a couple jobs a week. It's like, hey, ask the customer when you're done to leave a review. The value of a Google review, and I say Google because it's the most
Yeah.
popular platform.
Yeah.
Obviously, things are changing with AI. That's the buzz. That's the buzzword lately. But the most important thing that you can do without hiring an agency, without spending a dime, is asking your customers to leave you a Google review.
Yeah. I feel like that would be huge. Just taking the time to, even if it's someone else in the office, reach back out, just say, "Hey,
Mm.
want to check in. Hope everything looked great. If you don't mind, we'll send you an email with the link. You can go right to Google and let us know what you thought."
Yep, absolutely. And it's hard to get, it is hard to get Google reviews because you really have to take the effort. I think we got disconnected here.
That happened. We're back. Can you hear me?
Yep, I gotcha.
Exactly. I'm like, no, he's probably stuck on stage. Did it boot?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Fine. Not sure.
What's that?
Not sure what happened there. All right.
Technology.
Yeah. It was like you're talking about AI. I can tell.
Yeah, I was talking a little bad about Google Ads, so it shut us off. Yeah.
So tell me
Well,
something about like when you're first doing an audit for new contractors. What is it you guys are kind of focusing in on and seeing what you can do to move forward?
yeah, so a common audit we do if somebody has their own Google Ads account that we can access, we'll look through previous search history on Google Ads, and kind of like the example I used earlier, we'll go through and identify like, hey, you spent X amount of money on people searching for this,
Yeah.
completely irrelevant, like um, service that does not apply to you. Roofers is a good example. We most of the time we see, if we audit 9 out of 10 Google, accounts for a roofer, we'll see people searching for supplies like roofing nails near me, and
Mm.
just somebody looking for like Home Depot or roofing supplies. We'll go through and we'll find that when really it's just a roofing company trying to advertise for roof replacement. Um, Another one we see commonly when we do an audit is jobs. So, people searching for whatever, like if it's a
Oh yeah.
tree service jobs near me, and, if on basic settings with Google Ads, that will trigger your ad to show up. So, you don't always want to be spending money on, unless you're hiring, you don't really want to spend money on
Yeah.
a bunch of people randomly searching for employment.
Give me one other one. So if we're talking about like, give me a story, example wise, of somebody you guys started working with that were, they were trying to do their thing. It just wasn't paying off as much, so they jumped over with you guys, and you got to see some of the payment out of that.
Yeah, sure. So, there's one of our first tree services that we brought on, one of our main specialties is tree services. So, they were with a fairly large marketing company, but it was, it's a templated, they were doing a lot of templated stuff. So one size
Gotcha.
fits all. So,
Yeah.
the website wasn't really optimized great for mobile. So that was an easy win. We created a new website, optimized it for mobile because, um, most home services, but especially tree services, people are outside searching for, they're standing in their front yard and they're looking at a tree that's fallen down or about to fall down. They're not going in and using their computer or their laptop.
Yeah.
They're sitting, they're on their phone. So, we optimize their website, create a new website, make sure it's good to go on mobile. Um, and then really, like I mentioned earlier, we bring tracking transparency, right? So they're
Yeah.
paying another company that handled all the online marketing for them, but they billed them all directly and then they handled paying for the ads separately. So the client didn't really know what the breakdown was. Like, okay, I'm spending a couple thousand a month with this company, but how much of that is going, of the 5,000 a month, maybe I think it was almost 5,000 a month. How much of that is going towards ad spend? And they didn't break that down. So that was kind of like a
Mm,
wake up call. And, again, going back to transparency, it's like,
yeah.
you need to know where your money is going.
That's a good question. If people are working with ad agencies out right now, what would be like 3 questions they should kind of focus in so that they can track where their money's going? What's the best way to make sure it's getting spent correctly?
Yeah, no matter who you're working with, I think the most important thing is call and form attribution. So wanting to make sure you have a tracking system for where your leads are coming from.
Mm,
So if whatever your company you're working with, if you don't already have it, find out, hey, can you install, something like CallRail or what converts that can track my phone calls and my website form submissions. That way, at the end of each month, you can get a report that says, okay, I spent 2,000 on Google Ads. I got 100 calls from Google Ads, and
yeah.
you can break down and get your cost per lead. That's number one. If you can't do that, then you're just firing into the dark and you don't know what's working and what's not working.
Yeah.
Another important thing, like I previously mentioned, is to go through and just do the basic optimization of your Google business profile. That's you could go on YouTube and find a 20-minute how-to video on how to optimize your Google business profile,
Yeah.
and that's worth its weight in gold. And then, I think tying into that, the third thing that would be super important is getting those Google reviews. So developing some kind of system, like you said, if it's
Right. Reaching
somebody in
out.
the office, a secretary reaching out, if it's review cards that you have with a QR code that you scan on it, that takes, that's popular. We provide our clients with a physical business card with the QR code that they can hand to the client when the job is done and say, hey, if you scan that, uh, it'll take you right to where you leave us a Google review. And that's very important.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Super easy. Right from your phone again, walking in, you could do it real quick.
Yeah. Yeah. And
That's
then,
great.
it's some companies incentivize their technicians, like, hey, like try and get, if you get more legitimate Google reviews, it kind of, it helps. So, we have a lot of times we'll have companies tell the technician to tell the client, like, hey, if you leave us a review, it lets my boss know I'm doing a good job, which is 100% true. So,
Yeah.
it's encouraging a review without, like, forcing somebody to do it. Most customers will feel obligated if you say to them, hey, it helps me out and lets my boss know I'm doing a good job if you take 2 minutes to leave a Google review. Most
Yeah.
people will say yes to that.
Yeah. Just a kind gesture.
Yep.
What would you say a small campaign pivot led to major book jobs? Just the tiniest little tweak that, somebody else was just missing.
Yeah, a lot of times, going to the website, right? So, that's where a lot of people go if you search for a contractor for your home, or, even your business. You'd be surprised how many websites we look at that it's hard to find the phone number or get get an estimate form. So we're a huge proponent of having, like, get a quote right on the homepage, right at the top. Like,
Oh, yeah.
not even a button, just like you can see the form when you get on the website, like name, phone, email, what are you looking for? Uh,
Yeah.
you'd be surprised how often that's hidden or hard to find, because you lose somebody after like 10 seconds, right? Even less
Right.
sometimes, and they just, if they can't figure out how to get a hold of you easily, they're going to just they're going to click the back button and go to the next company.
Yeah.
Even if you're not a contractor, if you're a lawyer or any other industry or profession, you're judged in like the first 10 seconds of your online presence.
Right. Would you say there's a myth or at least an idea you've heard of people's usual reasons of why they don't like reach out to marketing companies that's probably kicking their butts?
Yeah, and there are a lot of marketing companies out there that don't provide the transparent reporting. So I guess myth or fact, it's, oh, I spent all this money, or I have spent all this money. I'm afraid to do SEO because I don't see the return, or I've heard
Right.
it can be a waste of money. I've heard Google ads are expensive, and that's all. It can be true. You have to, unfortunately, and pay to play in today's competitive online marketplace. Um, you know, if you're not spending the money, your competitor is.
Yeah.
So that's a common myth of, maybe I can do it without SEO, or maybe I can do it without Google ads. And yeah, you can run a successful business, but you will reach a tip point where you can't grow any further unless you invest in your marketing, and specifically your online marketing.
Do you feel like if you're leaning to one, um, who's going to win in a battle, SEO or Google reviews?
Ooh, I mean, in today's landscape, the Google reviews are more important,
Yeah.
and that's we sell SEO services, and it's just the truth.
Yeah.
It's it's positioned, most people, good amount of people stop at the Google business listing area, and that's what they look at. They read reviews. If they search tree service near me and they see 3 companies that pop up, one's got 80 reviews, the other has 10, and the other has 15. I Me as a homeowner, I'm going to call the one with
Right.
80 reviews first. It's perception. Um, and it doesn't mean you need to have perfect reviews too. I think most homeowners, if they look at 200 5-star reviews and they see one with 100 reviews and it's 4.8 or 4.9, maybe that's a little bit more trustworthy. Maybe it's
Sure.
a little bit more realistic. And I'd expect a company to have a couple 1-star reviews for whatever reason, and you could read
Yeah.
through them.
Yeah. Let's just leave it at that. Yeah. The negative always, there's going to be some. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter
yeah,
what you've done.
can't please everybody, that's for sure.
No. Do you think the local service ads are still worth their weight, or is
Yeah,
that kind of
absolutely. Yeah, the local service ads, Google guaranteed. It's kind of got a dual name depending on
okay?
what you look at. Very important by force. So Google really made that
Mhm.
important because they want you to spend the money on it. What happened is, most of the time those show up at the very top. So again, it's a, a place you need to be out of necessity.
Right.
Some people skip the ads altogether and they go straight into the organic results and they say, oh, I know everything at the top's an ad. I don't trust those. Sometimes it's true, sometimes not. If the ads are set up properly, then it is a local trustworthy company that you should be seeing when you search for the ads. But yeah, Google guaranteed local service ads, super important just because it's always at the top. People trust Google guaranteed. They say, okay, well, wow, if this company is guaranteed by Google, they're a legitimate company. And the good news is it's a little bit challenging to get signed up for Google guaranteed. I mean, you have to jump through a couple hoops, provide insurance, go through a
proof.
background check. Yeah. That's a good thing. It sets you out from your competitors. And then oftentimes they're the cheapest lead. They're actually cheaper than regular Google search ads most of the time. I've got clients that would do as many, they get as many of those as they possibly could. You just kind of run into a volume issue with them sometimes, or you can't get that many.
Yeah.
So it's one important piece of the puzzle for sure.
So you're talking to contractors, obviously, majority of your day. Have you noticed a mind shift for the one a little more successful versus the ones that just for whatever reason? Like, is there something that you're noticing?
Yeah, I think as a contractor business grows, as the company grows and matures, they have a healthier marketing budget,
Sure.
and they trust the process a little bit more. So, if you're smaller and starting out, and everybody does this, I did the same thing. If you're starting a business out and you've got a lower budget, you're going to be more on top of things, maybe to a fault, right? Like you're going to be constantly checking everything. Asking your marketing company every other day, hey, what's going on? In some regard, if you have a good marketing company in place, you need to kind of give them some reins and let them do their thing.
Yeah.
And provide them the budget to do it too, because again, they're competing against all the competitors that are spending the money.
Yeah.
Same thing, like if you were to go see your doctor, you have to at some point trust your doctor. Do you get a second opinion sometimes? Sure, but
Right.
trust what your doctor says, because they're the professional. If you go down the rabbit hole of WebMD, you could be in a terrible, be having a terrible time.
Yeah. Let me ask you one more. How about the dumbest thing that contractors you've noticed have done with marketing that just is not doing what they think it is?
And this might be a little, this might be a little bit controversial, but like going back to Yellow Pages and print ad, I still see people doing,
Yeah.
Yellow Pages still exists, and a lot of times I see people spending money on banners and just yeah, it's important to get your name out there and stuff, but it's not a hyper lead generating thing. I
Yeah.
mean, another example of that is just boosting posts on Facebook randomly. It just kind of sends it everywhere. You really have to have a strategy when you're doing your online
Yeah.
marketing. You can't just shotgun it, and that's very common, just to try a bunch of different things, like, oh, I'm going to sponsor the the little league. And again, it's good to do that stuff, but you just have to know where your return is coming from. Lost him again. Having some technology problems today.
Why we keep getting booted here?
I need to stop
Give
saying
me a
bad
second
things
to get
about
Alistair
Google.
back on here.
You got me here?
They know.
I know. I got to stop saying bad things about Google.
Bad question. Google too.
Yeah, right.
Let me get a couple before we wrap up here, or if Google boots us before we get.
Yeah, right.
This was a fun one that I was questioning earlier. If Alpo was if Valpo was one of the contractors that you represent, whether that's roofing or fence building, what do you think you guys would be as a representation of?
That's an interesting question. That's a hard one. Yeah. I mean, Um, yeah, I mean, obviously, I think the most important thing, like, what kind of company would we be?
Yeah, like, or which section of the contracting company? Like, I almost, to me, and this is my thought, I almost see you guys of being like the, like somewhere in the tile world because it's something you're having to get very intricate and detailed with.
Yeah, yeah, that makes sense. I mean, we've got custom bathroom remodelers, right? So that's
Right.
that something like that is very intricate and it's high dollar.
Yeah.
People are spending 20, 30, $40,000 even on some bathroom remodels. Um, a lot of components go into that.
Yeah.
So I
If
probably that. If that makes
Okay.
sense. Yeah.
Here's another one. If the Valpo agency had to get banned from like one channel, which one would you think would hurt you most?
Google Ads. Yeah,
Mm,
definitely. Yeah. If you keep dropping us on here, we might. But yeah, no, I think that's a huge specialty we have is Google
yeah.
Ads management. And it's super important because we can put the right company, the right contractor in front of somebody actively searching for that service.
Right. At the time, that I feel like that's almost just as
Yeah.
important.
Yep. Because like billboards and other things, you put it out there for everybody and you hope that somebody that needs that sees it and it makes sense to them.
Yeah.
Google Ads, it's somebody's actively searching for the service. They couldn't be any more of a high intent customer.
Right.
Uh, tree service near me. Hey, they've got a tree laying on their house. They need somebody immediately. You're not going to go to Facebook for that.
Yeah.
You don't. It's a very high intent search. So I think that's where contractors really need to get things dialed in is Google. Google Ads, Google Maps, Google Business Listing,
Yeah.
everything Google. And maybe AI is going to become a second to that with Chat GPT and other things soon. We're starting to see those searches come through
Oh
where
yeah.
people are going to Chat GPT on their phone and saying, who is the best contractor in my area for whatever service? And, right now that seems to be pulling it mostly from SEO efforts.
I
So
was like, can you just write that in your SEO?
yeah, if your SEO is dialed in, that's what's moving the needle for AI right now. You
Mm,
can't optimize AI itself. You can't go to Chat GPT and tell it what to think. It's
yeah.
just gathering information from everywhere else. So if we have the right information, helpful, factual, you know, informative content out there, that's where those AI engines are picking all this information up and delivering it to customers.
Well, clearly they have been trying to stop our tips, but
Yeah, right.
if they're looking for you, where's the best place they can find you?
Yeah, so valpoagency.com. It's a VALPO agency. If you Google that, go to valpoagency.com. You can schedule a consultation with us. There's no cost for that. Um, I I do most of the consultations myself. I enjoy doing it, and I enjoy kind of being like a detective and going in and seeing what somebody's got going on, good or bad. Well,
Yeah, it's kind of the fun part.
yeah, it's like it's going in and seeing everybody's got a different setup, so it's kind of cool to see what's going on and you know,
Looking for that one little thing that's like, boom,
yeah.
there's your flow.
And we try and even on a consultation, if you don't end up going forward with us, we'll still try and give you information that you can take back,
Yeah.
actionable stuff, just to kind of like help you out a little bit because we love doing it.
Yeah. Well, awesome. Thanks for hanging out with me. Sorry we had such a interrupted
Hey,
podcast, but we got through it.
technology. Yep. Yep. Awesome.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on the next one.
Thanks.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of Partnerships for Profit. We hope you've gained valuable insights on how to form profitable partnerships and take your business to the next level. Be sure to subscribe and leave us a review wherever you listen to podcasts so you never miss an episode. Got a partnership story to share or someone you'd like to see featured on the show? Reach out to us. Until next time, keep building those partnerships for profit.